Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm not gonna lie, I just woke up, but overnight, some pretty insane news was discovered via JGod. As we all know, sometimes in Warzone, Raven forgets to include some things in the patch notes, or sometimes things are tuned when they're not supposed to be tuned. And that was the case, it seems like, with the Season 2 update. As we know, previously we've talked about the PPSH here on the channel, and it's an insanely good close-range gun, especially the hip-fire only build. Everyone's been loving that recently. Well, it turns out that insanely good PPSH just got even better with the Season 2 update because they accidentally stealth buffed it, and it is now utterly insane. Probably one of the most broken weapons in the entire game. So today I wanted to break down what setups you guys want to be using for this, why it is so broken, and why you want to use it probably ASAP, because this is definitely going to be nerfed in the coming days. As we break it all down, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you can always stay up to date with absolutely everything going on in COD. And also my G Fuel discount code WhosImmortal is still boosted to get you 30% off your entire orders. So if you want to grab a new tub, a shaker cup, a starter pack, anything like that, you already know code WhosImmortal has you covered. So we've got our PPSH here, right? And as I said, JGod actually discovered this overnight, so all credit to him. This is what he found in his testing. Basically, before, you were looking at an 8 to 12 shot to kill depending on where you hit. Obviously, 8 shots to the head would be the absolute fastest TTK, 12 shots to the limbs and the extremities would be that slower into that TTK. But with this fire rate, that's still very good. Like, obviously, you can really help out the PPSH fire rate and get it to some pretty extreme amounts here, making it ideal for close range. Well, now what JGod discovered after the update is that this is now a 6 to 9 shots to kill. Nice, by the way. 6 being that all headshots, 9 being that limb and extremity. So anywhere in between there, you are getting an utterly phenomenal time to kill if you're landing your shots. And honestly, when you're playing up close, this is an incredibly accurate weapon, hip fire or not. It's so easy to use. Like I said, this is probably now the most broken gun in the game, at least for close range. You still got that Bren that exists for long range, but for CQB, this is probably the go-to weapon until this gets nerfed. And obviously, when that happens, I'll keep you guys updated here on the channel, so stick it here for that. But let's break down these setups here. There's actually 2 different setups I want to go over for this. One is going to be that hip fire based build, and then one is going to be that more ideal, anybody can use it, controller, keyboard and mouse, that'll be ideal for any situation like that. So let's go over the hip fire build first. A lot of players do like to use the oil can suppressor on a hip fire build just because it's only hurting your ADS, and that's not really relevant on a hip fire only setup. So you could go ahead, you could use that, you'll stay off the map. But to really maximize that TTK, you do want to use the recoil booster. That's going to increase that fire rate even more and just make it even more insane up close. Now for the barrel, specifically for this hip fire only build, you obviously want to use the 230mm because it's directly built for better hip fire accuracy and better hip fire control. So obviously we're going to go ahead and run that. Now while we're not ADSing on this hip fire build, you still want to run an optic because you're going to get the benefits of better accuracy and better control on your hip fire despite not ADSing. So it's still crucial to run any optic that includes better hip fire and better control stats. So definitely keep that in mind. For the stock here, remove stock is going to be your best bet, again giving you better hip fire but also better sprint to fire and better movement speed, which is really ideal. For the underbarrel here, you got a couple of different options. Carver is very good for better control and better hip fire accuracy. However, the M1915 steady underbarrel is just built for hip fire accuracy, so it offers a bit more there. So for that purpose, I definitely want to go that route and maximize that hip fire accuracy. Obviously, it's honestly crazy. Like, you could be 15 meters away from an enemy and only hip firing and you're still going to land the majority of your shots. It's wild how accurate this thing is. I personally like the Nambu rounds here, better fire rate and better control, which makes it even better for up close. However, the Gorenko 71 round drums, these are also really, really good. The fire rate's not as insane, but you are getting a little bit more damage out of these because obviously the Nambu do hurt that a little bit. But for hip fire, I do prefer the Nambu. For the ammo here, definitely going for hollow point. That increased limb damage, as we saw, gives you that anywhere between a 6 and 9 shot to kill, and having extra damage there is very ideal to say the least. For the rear grip on the hip fire only build, Pine Tar is going to be awesome. Better control and better hip fire accuracy yet again. That minus ADS con really does not come into play. For perk 1, tight grip, still going to be ideal for that recoil during sustained fire and will help out while you're hip firing. Then for perk 2, quick or fully loaded is ideal here. When only hip firing, I do prefer fully loaded just because you're probably going to miss a couple of extra shots because you're not aiming down sights. So that to me is a little bit more important there. But this hip fire build in specific now just got even better. It was insane in one of the top close range setups before. Now it is one of the best, regardless of the input you're playing. Obviously with controller, you can sort of cheese that rotational aim assist on hip fire, and keyboard and mouse hip fire has always been very dominant. This setup is very, very good. Now let's go ahead, let's get rid of those attachments, and setup number 2 is going to be that more well-rounded, more practical loadout that you don't just hip fire on. You could use it for close range and it's still going to be insane. Now, I am still using the recoil booster here, again, just to increase that TTK. For the barrel though, Zach 300, I know J-God's talked about this, especially in his PPSH video. This is going to be an ideal one because it's helping out with the control. You're also getting some better velocity and range, which isn't super necessary here, but it is going to make it a bit more viable for maybe say some of those 20 or 25 meter fights if you find yourself in one of those situations. For the optic here, because we are actually aiming down sights, I want to use something a bit more practical, so I'll just go for the basic slate reflector here. If you like the iron sights, you could use those. You could even use like some of the alternative iron sights if you really wanted to, but to me, I'm okay with the basic slate reflector. The iron sights are all right, but they're not my favorite in the world. For the stock, again, I want to go for the remove stock. While it does hurt your control a little bit, getting that better movement speed and better sprint to fire to me is ideal, and that's going to make it just even more aggressive and better for those close range fights. For the underbarrel here, you definitely have some options. Like you could use hand stop if you just want to maintain good control, but it is going to slow you down a little bit with the hip fire at least, so that's not necessarily my number one choice. The skeletal is ideal because that's just focusing on ADS, and with this slower barrel on here compared to hip firing only, you might notice that in certain situations. So skeletal is definitely an option, but so is pistol grip. Now this again does hurt your control and accuracy, so if you're very good with control, this would probably be your option. I think for most players though, skeletal is going to be the most practical. Again, we want to go for this Nambu 71 round mags there. For the ammo, also hollow point yet again for that ideal shot to kill. Now for the rear grip in this case, again, I think you got a couple of options. For the best control possible here, obviously polymer is going to be ideal. No real cons with this one, just better control during sustained fire. However, something like fabric to get a better ADS and a better sprint to fire could also be really good. So it sort of just comes down to preference there. Do you want max speed on this, or do you want to maintain decent speed but also have decent control on there as well? Really just comes down to what you value more. Again, we're going to go for tight grip in this case. If there was gung ho, that'd be insane, but unfortunately there's not. Then perk 2 in this case, again, quick or fully loaded, either of those work. But this setup right now, as I've said numerous times throughout the video, is probably the single most broken in the entire game. I do 100% expect this to get patched because this was not an intended change. Obviously, it was not included in the patch notes for any update we got. So I'd imagine once Raven is back and they have some time to readjust the values here, we're going to see a bit of an emergency update, if you will, where they say, hey, the PPSH received unintended levels of dominance over the weekend. We've gone ahead, we've adjusted that. Again, when that happens or when we see any future updates, I'll be covering them all right here on the channel right as they happen. So feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with that and everything else going on in COD. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.